Hello friends, today in this tutorial I will be telling you about Redux. Redux is a state management library inside React.js, so we will be building a complete project from scratch, just understanding the concept of Redux. So basically, whenever you want to manage states inside your state or data inside your React.js application, then we use Redux. So basically, we will be making HTTP request to a JSON placeholder API inside this application. JSON placeholder API is a fake REST API for developers to make request inside your application. So basically, it's a testing API, free fake API for testing and prototyping. We will use this API to fetch some post and display it inside our browser. Let me just show you the demo here. So basically, it's a simple React.js application. Here we are displaying the number of posts out there. You can now see when I load this React.js application for the very first time, all the posts are being fetched. You can also see we are making HTTP request here in the background to display all these posts from JSON placeholder API. So this is the fetch API that it has. It is a endpoint URL that we are hitting, and also we have this simple form here guys where you can put a simple title here. So if I put here, this is a sample title and this is a sample body, and basically if I hit this submit button, you will now see this post will be created here. You can now see, and this is a body. So here I can create as many posts as I want. Click on submit. So now you can see all these posts will be created one by one. So we are making a HTTP post request to this JSON placeholder API using fetch API inside the browser, inside React.js, and we are managing all this data, managing all the state using Redux. Redux, as you all know, basically it's external library which is there for React.js applications, or basically it's a any you can use it with Python, JavaScript, in browser JavaScript. It is not limited with React.js. You can use it in any application. Basically, it's a predictable state container for JavaScript applications. You can use it in any framework, but specifically it is made for React.js, and the two developers make that inside, if you'd say Redux developers. So basically in Facebook, two employees made this application. So if you just search here who made Redux, we will get to know. This is the person here, Dan Welcome. It was made in 2015, so it's a pretty old library, but we will look at the concept that how to manage state inside our React.js application. So inside our React.js. So if you're watching it for the very first time, then please hit the like button, guys. Subscribe to the channel. I have given all the source code in the description of this live stream and also in the live chat, so you can get the full source code. I have written a complete blog post on my tutorial website Coding Siksha, so you can get the step-by-step instructions. So let's start building this Redux application, guys. So we will simply go to my projects directory, and basically I will now make a make a new folder, React Redux. I will go into this folder, and here I will make a new application, React Redux. So basically guys, it will now create this React.js application inside this folder. So it will hardly take 5 to 10 seconds installing all these dependencies. So once it is installed, we will install all the dependencies which are needed for this project. So just wait. So Redux, guys, is a very good library to manage state. As you all know, in React applications you have hundreds of components have there. So it's very much difficult to pass on the state, pass on the data. So in this case, Redux makes it very much easy to manage states inside your React.js application. So once you use Redux here, basically you have a centralized data which is there at one place, so you can access the data from any component very easily with the help of Redux. So this makes it very much easy. So you will see when we develop the application later on how Redux makes it easy. So if you're watching it for the very first time, guys, then please hit the like button, subscribe the channel as well, and I make daily live streams related to programming. React.js, AngularJS, Python, JavaScript, Node.js, Express. So all these technologies you are learning for free. So please hit that like button, subscribe to channel. So it is just installing it. So just wait, guys. My computer is a little bit slow. So it totally depends upon your computer speed and internet speed. So higher the configuration, then it will take lower time. So if you're watching it for the very first time, then please hit the like button. So if you have any sort of doubts also, guys, you can ask in the comment section. I will happily want to reply to all your questions. So basically there are three concepts which are there inside Redux. So basically there is a action that you need to perform, actions in Redux. In actions, basically you tell whatever action that you need to perform. Let's suppose we are making a get request, we are making a post request. So basically we will make that get request, post request, and then we will pass on that data to reducer. If you say here reducer, so basically reducer is the function that takes that action and the previous data state, and it will modify that state and it will return the new state. So basically this is the diagram here. Basically, if you don't know Redux about, if you're watching it for the very first time, so this is the view here, view section, and basically whatever action that you need to perform, either you need to make a get request, post request, you pass on that request to reducer function. So then reducer function takes that request, take the action, whatever action that you need to perform, and then also it takes the uh, it modifies the data, it modifies the state of the application, and then it returns the new state object, and it returns to the store. Basically store is the database, or you can say store represents all the data which is stored inside our React.js application. Then store passes that to the view section. So this is a diagram here. You can, I hopefully you understand it. Now we will see practically how to do this. So we will say cd react redux, and here guys we will open this folder inside Visual Studio Code text editor. So now you can see this is our brand new React.js project. And now guys, for this you need to install three libraries for Redux: npm I redux redux. Then we also need to install React-Redux, and also we need to install Redux-Thunk, thunk. So these are the three libraries which are required for this application, guys. Whenever you are making Redux application, this is a template you will follow. Now it is installed, you can start this React.js application and npm start. So now you can see that we will delete this logo. We don't need this logo. You also don't need the setup file. We will delete this unnecessary things. We don't need this. So right here, guys, so now if you run this application, it will run it on localhost 3001. So just wait. If you're watching it for the very first time, then please hit the like button, subscribe the channel. So now it will start this application. Nothing will be there. You can see it is currently empty. So now guys, the very first step in configuring Redux inside your React.js application, basically we need to create a store.js file. Basically you can follow this as a template. So whenever you are using Redux inside your React.js application, basically you can follow this step-by-step tutorial, step-by-step template. You just need to make a store.js file. Basically store represents the actual data which will be used in the application. So this store we will be using. So here inside this file, guys, what we need to say is that we need to create a new store. So now to create a new store, we will write const store, and there is a function out there which is lets you do this, so which is called as create store, and we need to import this. So we can simply say import create store from Redux. You can see that Redux. This is the method which is there, and inside this it takes a arguments, guys, which is basically the first argument is the reducer function. So basically you can call this as anything. I will call this as root reducer, and basically then it takes the initial state. Initial state represents the data, whichever state that you want. So comma, and then basically it takes is compose. So basically guys, you will feel that you are confused right now, but I am telling you, just follow the step-by-step tutorial. You will get to know what is Redux. So here apply middleware. So basically dot 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 middleware. So all these things guys, we need to import it here. You will now see apply middleware is automatically imported here from Redux. And also we need to import this compose function that we used here, compose. And now we are passing this initial state guys. So initial state will be empty. So here you will simply say initial will be an empty object. So this represents the initial state of the application. Basically it will be empty object. Whenever we load the application for the very first time, the object will be empty. So that's all that is needed here. After that guys, what we need to say is that we also need to pass this we are passing this middleware guys. So this middleware will be thunk that we installed. So middleware inside square brackets, this will be an array. So thunk, this will be imported from Redux thunk that we install that library. So you will be very confused at this moment of time. I can totally understand your situation, but Redux is a very complex library. This is a step-by-step process in order to configure Redux. So once you get these things, you will definitely able to do that. So now at last you need to export this. So you will say export default store. That's it. So this is your store.js file guys. So just need to close this file. And the very next step we need to do is that we need to go to our app.js file guys. So here what we need to say is that we need to provide access to the store JS file that we have created right here. Basically this is the store that we have created. So now we need to give access to our app.js file, which is a global file here. We need to get access. So what we can do is that we can wrap here all this HTML, which is you can see inside the provider tag. So basically this will be coming from React-Redux. So here we will just surround this using provider here like this. So this is a way by which you can provide access to the store. So then this takes this object which is store, and this is equal to the store. So store we need to import this, so we can simply say import store from store. So you can see we are exporting this here at the very last line here, export default store. So basically this means that we can use this store inside another files by using import statement. So now we are providing full access to full data to our application at one place. So all the components which will reside here, you will see all the components. Let's suppose I create thousands of components which will be there inside this application will get access to this stored data. We no longer want to pass the data as a properties inside the individual components. So basically with the help of this one line, we are making the data as centralized inside our React.js application. So this is a very good advantage of using Redux. So now you guys, we need to make our two components out there. So we will give it a heading here, which is JSONPlaceholder API project in Redux. And now guys, we will be having our two components here. So right here, make a components folder inside your root directory. And here we will make the first component, which will be post form.js, and secondly the post component. So just put rfc class level component, I think it is rf, yeah, this is a class level component, export default function, rfce class level component. So now we have these two components guys, post form and post.js. So post form will be required for inserting We will have HTML form inside this component, and post.js will display all the records from the JSON placeholder API. So we will now do this here. Just wait. So basically it's a class level component. So here we will simply say import React from React, and here we will have class level component which is post form. We'll extend the component library. So here guys, we will simply have a render function here, as you all know. So basically here we will simply say so we have a return statement, sorry. So inside this return statement we will simply say this is post form component. And lastly, we can export this, so we can simply say export default post form. And similarly we can do this for the post component as well. Simply paste it. So now we can simply include these components guys, which is post form and post component, like this. So now we have, so if you reload the application, it is saying that root reducer is not defined. Let me see where it is. Store.js. Okay. So we need to define this guys, root reducer. We need to create this. So basically we will create a reducer folder, reducer sorry, s also reducers, and inside this we will create index.js. So and the second reducer will be uh, post reducer. So you can just follow the convention guys. So basically here we are working with post, so that's why we are writing post reducer. So let's suppose you are working with any other data type. Let's suppose comment, you are making a comment widget, then you will be writing here comment reducer. So this totally depends upon you how you need to name the files. It totally depends upon your application type. So here guys, first of all, inside index.js, what we need to do is that uh, first we will write the post reducer guys. So basically inside the reducer function, as I already told you, basically this interacts with the whatever action passed to it. So basically the actions call this reducer function. So here first of all, basically inside this we will also create another folder guys, which inside the source directory, which will call as actions. So inside the actions type guys, we will put types.js. So and one other file here we need to create is post actions. So you can just see how the naming is done. So post actions, post reducers. So inside this action guys, you will perform the actual HTTP request here to JSON placeholder API, and basically whatever data will be returned to that we will pass to the reducer function, so where we will manipulate the state. So I think that you're getting some concept guys. If you're having any sort of confusion, you can ask in the comment section. Please hit the like button, subscribe the channel as well. I have given all the source code in the description of the live stream and also in the live chat, so you can go to that. So now guys, first of all we will make our actions, not reducer. First of all we will make our post actions. So here guys, inside the post actions, what we need to do is that, let me tell you what we need to do. Inside the post actions guys, so here you will simply say import fetch underscore post and new post. So basically we need to get this from the same file here, which is present inside types. So here we have created this types.js. So basically inside this file we will declare the two variables here, constant variables, export const fetch post. So this will be equal to fetch post. That's it. Let me just write this and explain to you what is happening here. Export const new post. So whenever I studied Redux for the very first time, guys, I also had the same confusion. It contains a lot of boilerplate code that you need to write in order to set up Redux. So context API is I think it's better than Redux, but still you need to learn Redux in order to develop applications at. So you can now see we have declared these two variables, which is fetch post, which is meant by the action what we need to perform, and then this is a new post we need to create. So now you can close this file. So we are importing both these two constant variables from this file like this. So in the future, if you want to add some more, uh, we need to perform some more actions, you can just write here. Let's suppose you want to delete a post here, we will export a new variable. Let's suppose delete post. If you're making a current kind of an application, so you are just seeing the pattern here. So whatever actions that you need to perform here, you will put these variables right here inside type.js. So basically this is the structure that Redux application follow. So now inside post actions.js, guys, what we need to do is that we need to export functions, export const fetch post. So basically from the name itself, here we will fetch all the posts from JSONPlaceholder API, and basically we will return a simple function which is called a dispatch, which is arrow function. You can also write like this if you don't get the point. Basically this dispatch is a function. We are returning a dispatch function here like this. You can call this as anything. It totally depends upon you how you need to call this. So you can also write like this, but in order to save coding and also some time as well, we will write like this. So we are returning from this function a dispatch function. This is also a arrow function like this. So here if you have any sort of argument, you can pass here inside this if you know arrow functions. So here, guys, first of all what you need to do is that we will make a fetch call to the JSONPlaceholder API. So basically this is a endpoint. You can see HTTPS JSONPlaceholder typocode.com/post. So basically it will make a HTTP GET request to this JSONPlaceholder API endpoint, and now to get the result we will use promises here .then, and then we will get the result here. We will convert this result to JSON, so we will simply say response.json. So now we can display this .then again. So now we have the post. So these are the posts that we need to display, guys. So what we can do is that we can basically put a dispatch function here. So we need to now send this post to reducer function. So now we need to dispatch it in Redux terms. So dispatch, you can call this as anything, guys. Send also, it totally depends upon you, but dispatch, if you studied Redux, you will know dispatch is a common phenomena which is used. Dispatch, and here we will pass an object. The type will be called as fetch post. Type is equal to fetch underscore post, and here we will pass the data, or you can also pass payload. Totally depends upon you how you need to call this. So here we will call this post here. That's it. These are the posts which is coming here. So now we have defined this first function, guys, which is fetch post, which will fetch all the posts from the JSONPlaceholder API, and it will display it on the browser site. We are making a simple GET request using fetch here, and whatever post which we are returning right here, we are dispatching it to the reducer function here, which is the type is equal to fetch post, and the payload, the data, whichever data we need to display, we are doing it. So now we need to go to our post reducer, guys. So now we need to do that. So we'll go step by step. So inside this, guys, the post reducer, basically again we will need to import that two variables, which is fetch underscore post from action types, and you can see we have successfully imported that. And now we will define the initial state, guys. Initial state and here we will define our variables. So basically initial state here for this component will be, we have two items, will be items array, which will be array by default. So for now we will have only one item here, which will be an items array. So this is empty by default when you load the application for the very first time. So now guys, inside this reducer we will have a simple function here, export default function, and basically it will take the initial state is equal to initial state, comma, whatever action that you need to perform. This is the common template of a reducer function, guys. uh, it takes the initial state, whichever state that you need to modify. In this case our state is only this single variable, which is an items array. You can even have a counter variable as well, which is an integer. You can have a name variable, which is a string value. You can have as many variables, guys. It totally depends upon you in our state how many variables that you need to have for a component. For now we have a single variable, which is an empty array, items array. So now we will make use of a programming statement which is called as a switch operator. You have already studied, guys. If you have no programming, you will know what is switch operator. So here we will be checking for multiple scenarios. Action dot type. So this action, guys, you will know that we are passing this to the reducer function. If you see here, this is a type parameter here. So we are just checking here action dot type. Inside this you can see that. So basically here we will check here, in the case of fetch post, if this is a case here, then basically what we will say, we will return, basically this will be an object, and the first one will be the dot dot dot. This is the actual previous state. So we need to write this previous state, guys. This is a, and the second one is the actual data that we need to print. So in this case we need to initialize the items, which is currently empty. Here you can now see which is currently empty. So here we need to say payload. So whichever, this needs to be action.payload, sorry, action.payload. You can see inside action we are passing this payload here. You can see that. So we can access both type and payload using the action object. You can see that this is an actual object here. This is not a variable, this is an object. So with the help of this object we are accessing the type and the payload. So in this scenario, guys, you can have multiple cases for multiple functionalities. So for the default case, here we will return the actual state like this, which is initial state. If no action type is provided, in that case we will return the default state. That's it. So this is our reducer function, guys. That's all that we need to write inside reducer. Our action is also complete. Now we need to simply call this inside our component. So right here inside app.js, so where we are calling this. So I will just delete this post form. We only display the number of posts here. You can now see this is our post component here. You will now see. So this is the number of posts here. So here we will display all the posts here, guys. If you load the application, it is saying that root reducer is not defined. So I think we need to go to our this one, store.js. So we need to import our for this root reducer, guys, we need to create a second file here inside the reducer folder, so which is index.js that you have here. So basically whenever you make the reducer function, guys, the second step is to combine them basically into a one reducer function. So what we can do is that inside this index.js, let me show you. So basically we need to combine all the reducer function into a single one. So this is mandatory, you need to do this. So we will simply say export default combine reducer. So this will be coming from the reducer Redux package here. So basically here we will pass the reducer. So basically we can call this as anything, guys. So as we are displaying the post, adding the post. So we will call this as post. You can call this anything depending upon your application. So here we will get the post reducer that we created from the post reducer file. You can see that from this file we are exporting this function. So we are getting this post reducer. So now we are combining this guys to a single one. So it is called as post here. So whenever we will want to use this reducer, we will call this as post. That's all that you need to do, guys. So now inside your store.js, inside your store.js, the root reducer will be this one. We need to import the root reducer from the reducer like this. So you can see that. So root reducer is actually called as the index.js file. This is just the naming functionality, guys. You can name it anything, but root reducer is typically called as index.js. So you can see that. So it will be called as post here. Now if you reload the application, you will now see the application is working here, post is showing here. So now we need to display all the post from the JSON placeholder API. So if you're watching it for the very first time, guys, then please hit the like button, subscribe the channel as well. Yeah, it is Redux application, guys. Tanvir Shah. Yeah, we are developing Redux application. So if you're watching it for the very first time, then please hit the like button, subscribe the channel. So after this, guys, what we need to do is that we need to go to our post component. So basically, guys, what we need to do is that first of all, uh, we need to convert. This is the most important step, guys. If you see, we need to convert the we need to map or map the state to props. Props, as you all know, that we can use it inside our React.js component. So we need to map the state data to the props. So for that we can simply create this const map state to props, and here we can get the state, and so inside this, guys, we can get the post here. So this will be called as state.post.items. So you can see that, guys, we have declared this root reducer. If you see here, it is called as post. If you change it to anything here, we need to change it to the same name. So if I change it to root here, so I need to change it to root here. So basically this is the reducer function that we have here, post. So this is the reducer function which is called here. So basically we have this inside the post reducer, we have this initial state here. So we have this items array here, so that so in this way we are accessing it. Post dot sorry state dot post dot items. So you can now see we are mapping this state to a props variable. So that's all. And lastly, we also need to change this. So we can simply say export default connect. So this connect will be imported from React-Redux, guys. Basically it will connect or map the state data to the props. So here we will simply say we will pass this map state to props, and then we will pass the component name. In this case, the component name is reducer function is fetch post, I think. Yeah, if you see here, yeah, I think this is a function which is called as. So whatever function that you give here, guys, inside post action, you can now see you need to give this name. So whatever actions you give the name here, you need to simply give this name. So that's why fetch post. So I think we need to import this. Yeah, so we need to import this fetch post. fetch post from actions slash post actions. And lastly guys, we also need to give the component name here after this. So inside parentheses post, this is the name of the component here, like this. So now basically we can access the data from the props variable. So what we can do is that, so right here inside our lifecycle method here, basically we have this lifecycle method which is component did mount, and inside this lifecycle method guys, we can call the function here. So we can call this dot props dot fetch post. This is a function. Basically it dispatches this call to this function which is fetch post. Then it gets the data and basically it dispatches this request to the reducer function, and then basically it manipulate the state here, manipulate this items array, and then we need to display this inside our component. So right here what we need to do is that here, so here we will display that data guys. So if you refresh the application guys, nothing will be if you refresh the application, no error will take place. Now we simply need to display these posts here. So what we can do is that here we can simply have right here, we can declare a variable here which is const post items, and here we can access this dot props dot post dot map. This post is coming from here guys, you can see we have mapped it state dot post dot items. So items is an array, so we are calling post here like this, so that's why this is an array, so we are using the map method. And here for each post we will be having a div element, so we will be giving a key parameter to it. This will be post dot id, and then inside h3 tag we will say post dot title. This is a structure of the JSON placeholder API data guys, so this will be post dot body, that's it. So now at last we just need to display this variable, so inside curly brackets we can display it post items. So that's it guys. So now hopefully if I refresh the page, it will take some time. uh, fail to fetch fail to fetch post action. Let me see. I think guys some mistake is there right here. Let me see the, I think we have make a mistake here inside our post action here. If I check my address here, https JSONPlaceholder dot typocode.com slash post, we are getting the response, we are converting this to JSON, and then basically we are, let me console log the post. So let me refresh it. So what is saying that error name not resolved. Oh, sorry. You can see that the holder spelling is wrong here, guys. I have written JSON placeholder. This needs to be D is present right here. So when you hit this, now you will get the JSON response, guys. You can see that. This was just a spelling mistake here. Now see JSON placeholder. So just make that, and now basically, hopefully, this will refresh it. Now it will see the response is returned to us, which is 100 blog post here. This is the first one, body, ID, title, user ID. Body, you can see that 100 is returned to us. So it is making this call here. Inside this, you can see that inside post action. So why it is not displaying it? Let me see. Why it is not displaying it? Let me see, guys. Post items. This dot props dot post dot map post post dot id post dot title post dot body. Fetch post. So here it is successfully called here, guys. So what is the problem here? Why it is not? I think, guys, I am writing something wrong here. Let me paste it here. All this code. So now you can see that there was just a spelling mistake or someone like the previous mistake. So sometimes this can occur in programming. So now you can see that, guys, it is displaying all the posts out there. You can now see all the 100 posts. That is the title and the actual post, the title and body, and this is the post ID. So this is one component, guys, which is complete, guys. Now basically we need to show a simple input field where we can enter this information and make a simple post request. So up till now, if you have any sort of problem, guys, you can ask in the comment section. So now basically we will make that second component, which is post form. And similarly, we will write inside our post action, we will write a second function. Basically, this function will be export. So if I go to my file here, which is post action, so we will now add the second function basically. So this function will be responsible for creating a new post from the HTML form. So create post, and basically in this case, guys, we will be getting some data. So here we will get the data, post data. In the function we will again call dispatch. We will return this dispatch function. So you can see the template is somewhat same, guys. You can now see you need to change the function name. So here inside this we are expecting some data which needs to be inserted into the, we make a post request. So again we are returning this dispatch function. So right here again we will use the fetch function. This time we will make a post request. So fetch https JSONPlaceholder typocode.com/post, and URL will be the same, but this time the method here will be post. And we also need to provide some headers if you want to. This will be an object, so here the content type will be of application/JSON, and the last one is the body. So basically here we need to convert the data which will be coming to from JSON to string. So we will simply, it converts the JavaScript value to a JSON string. So we will simply post data. That's it. So now guys, we can get the data which will return to us, response.json, and again we will get the post here which will be returned to us whenever it is successful. So here again we will call this dispatch function, guys. So dispatch. So inside dispatch, guys, the type here will be now new post, and the payload will be again the post which is created here like this. So now this is the template, guys. You can now see, first of all, we write the action. So whatever action that you need to perform, you put it in the type here, and you pass the payload to the reducer function. So now we will go to the post reducer and write this function. So inside this, basically we will now write a new case here, which is the second case new post. So inside, whenever we are creating a new post, guys, we need to return again this state, this three symbol state, put a comma, and the item. This time the item will be action dot again payload. So here this is items, so this is an array of items. So here we need to create another variable here, put a comma, and this time this will be item. So this is an object. So at a time we are creating a single post. So this is a single post will be called as an object. So this is item. So we are saying we are initializing whatever data which is coming to this item object action.payload. That's all, guys, that we need to perform inside this reducer function. That's all. Now we need to go to our post form, and basically, and here we need to first of all we will have a simple HTML form here, and we'll have a h1 heading add post. We will have a simple form. You can add a on submit. So this dot on submit. So we'll have a div. So inside this, guys, we will have a simple label which is title. We will have a break tag, and after this we will have input type text, and name is equal to title. And also we will be attaching a on change. So whenever the value changes here, we will fire this function which is this dot on change. Value will be this dot state dot title, like this. So this is now complete, and basically we'll put a break tag here. Similarly, we will create it for the body. That's it. And after that, guys, we will have a simple button. Simply it will say submit or add post. So the type will be here submit. That's it. So this is our form, guys. If you refresh it, you will see the simple form here. So we need to embed this component here. First of all, we will simply create all these functions here which you have configured here. And also, guys, as we did in the previous component, which is post component, we need to map the state to the properties, props. So here we can simply say, so this time export default connect. This will be again coming from React Redux, and here this will be null, the first argument, and the second one is the actual function that you need to say, create post. So inside post actions, we are creating at this post here, so that's why we are writing here like this. And then the actual component name. So in this case, the post form, that's it. So here we need to import this, guys, this function, which is create post. From actions slash post actions, that's it. And after this, guys, as this is a class level component, we need to have a constructor, and props will be there here, and here we need to call super props, and this dot state, and here we will declare the title, which is empty, and the body, which is also empty. So after this, guys, so we will put this dot on change, which we have declared this dot on change dot bind this, and this dot on submit, this dot on submit dot bind this. That's it. So now we need to define all these functions, guys, which is on change. This will be an arrow function, and on submit. So here we will first of all prevent the auto submission of the form, and whenever the value is changed, we need to simply set the state here, this dot set state, and here we'll simply say inside this object, which is e dot target dot name, will be equal to e dot target dot value. And inside this, guys, we need to create a object which will be passed to the action. So here the title here will be simply this dot state dot title, and body will be this dot state dot body. So after constructing this object, we just need to call the function this dot props dot create post, which is post. We will pass this object, which is post here, which contains these two properties, which is title and body. So that's it, guys, which is for this one. I think hopefully now this will have, we need to include this inside app.js. We haven't included this, so right here after this, just before this, sorry, post form. So now basically you will now see this input field out there. If I write a title and the body, click add post. Let me see what is. So if it is not displaying this newly created blog post, guys, so for this, if you see here, we need to make some slight changes here. So in the previous post component, we need to write this. So just make this change, just go to post.js right here at the very top. Component will receive props. So if next props, this one, if you just make this change, so in this way, guys, you can develop this application using Redux. I have clearly shown you how to do this using JSONPlaceholder API. So if you like this video, then please hit the like button, subscribe the channel as well. And if you have any sort of questions, you can ask in the comment section. So if you're watching it for the very first time, guys, then please hit the like button, subscribe the channel. So we have made a Redux application inside this tutorial. So we have seen how to manage state inside your React.js application. You can submit the post here like this, submit unlimited post here. Or you can display post from the JSONPlaceholder API. So in this way.